Look around you for a moment. Every road, every skyscraper, every airplane, every smartphone exists because humanity chose one path. We learned to melt stone into metal, to build engines, factories, and machines. But history is full of accidents. A single discovery, or the absence of one, can change the fate of an entire civilization. So, what if our ancestors had never entered the age of metal? What if humanity had taken a completely different path? One where biology became our greatest technology. Imagine a world where scientists never searched for stronger alloys or faster engines. Instead, they spent thousands of years mastering the language of life itself. Every breakthrough came from understanding how organisms grow, heal, adapt, and cooperate. Civilization didn't conquer nature, it learned to guide it. Instead of inventing machines, humanity learned how to cultivate living systems capable of performing the same tasks, only in ways that seem almost magical to us today. From the sky, Earth would look completely different. There would be no endless highways slicing through forests, no cities glowing with concrete and glass. Instead, vast green metropolises would stretch across the landscape like enormous living forests. Towering trees would intertwine with one another, forming natural bridges, homes, and entire neighborhoods. Every building would still be alive, growing stronger each year rather than slowly falling apart. Walking through one of these cities would feel like stepping inside a giant living organism. Walls would gently breathe, regulating temperature without air conditioning. Windows wouldn't be made of glass, but of transparent biological membranes that could darken under intense sunlight or become perfectly clear at night. Floors would repair tiny cracks overnight, while vines carrying fresh water and nutrients would flow beneath every home like natural plumbing. Even light would come from life itself. Instead of electric bulbs, streets would be illuminated by carefully cultivated colonies of bioluminescent plants and fungi. Entire parks would glow with soft blue and emerald light after sunset, creating landscapes that seem almost impossible. Night wouldn't disappear beneath harsh artificial lighting. Instead, cities would shine like forests filled with millions of tiny stars. Transportation would evolve in ways no engineer would ever predict. Instead of cars powered by combustion engines, enormous domesticated creatures might carry passengers across vast distances. Giant floating organisms filled with naturally produced hydrogen or other lightweight gases could drift through the skies like living airships. Rivers would remain the world's highways, traveled by graceful biological vessels grown rather than constructed. The oceans would become humanity's greatest highways. Massive, whale-like organisms, selectively bred over centuries, might transport entire communities between continents. Living coral ports would grow directly from the coastline, constantly adapting to waves, storms, and rising sea levels. Instead of fighting the ocean with concrete barriers, civilization would evolve alongside it, allowing every structure to change as nature changed. Medicine would perhaps be the greatest achievement of this civilization. Diseases wouldn't simply be treated, they would be negotiated with. Tiny engineered symbiotic organisms would patrol the human body, repairing damaged tissues before illness could even appear. Lost limbs might slowly regenerate over months, while failing organs could be replaced not by mechanical implants, but by living tissues grown specifically for each individual. Communication would also follow a completely different path. Instead of satellites and fiber optic cables, humanity might discover ways to use vast underground fungal networks, the same kind scientists today call the Wood Wide Web. Forests could become enormous biological communication systems, transmitting chemical and electrical signals across incredible distances. Messages wouldn't travel through wires, they would travel through life itself. Perhaps the strangest difference would be humanity's relationship with intelligence. Instead of building artificial intelligence from silicon chips, people might learn how to cultivate collective biological minds. Entire forests could function as giant living computers, storing information within interconnected root systems, fungi, and specialized organisms. Knowledge wouldn't exist inside servers hidden in data centers. It would grow, season after season, inside the world's oldest forests. But this world would not be a perfect paradise. Every technology comes with a price. In a civilization built entirely on living organisms, every decision would affect the delicate balance of entire ecosystems. A disease capable of infecting engineered plants could spread through cities the way computer viruses spread through our digital networks. Entire transportation systems could collapse if a single species went extinct. Survival would depend on maintaining biodiversity, making ecology the foundation of every political and scientific decision. Even war would look almost unrecognizable. There would be no tanks, missiles, or fighter jets. Instead, civilizations might cultivate defensive forests that reshape themselves to block invading armies. Seeds could remain dormant for years before suddenly growing into enormous barriers overnight. Swarms of harmless-looking insects might disable enemy crops or communication networks without a single explosion. Victory would belong not to the strongest army, but to the civilization that understood life more deeply than its rivals. Education would also be transformed. Children would spend less time memorizing formulas and more time learning how living systems interact. Schools would resemble botanical gardens and vast ecosystems rather than classrooms. Students would study symbiosis, adaptation, and evolution not only from books, but by directly shaping living organisms. Every generation would become gardeners, biologists, architects, and engineers all at once. Exploration would remain one of humanity's greatest ambitions. Instead of launching metal rockets, people might cultivate gigantic living vessels capable of surviving the harsh conditions of space. These organisms could repair themselves, recycle waste into nutrients, and shield their passengers from radiation through naturally evolved biological structures. Space travel would still be difficult, but every spacecraft would resemble a giant living creature drifting silently between the stars. As centuries passed, the line between humanity and nature would slowly disappear. People might form permanent partnerships with microscopic symbiotic organisms that enhance memory, improve vision, or strengthen the immune system. Clothing could become living tissue that adjusts to temperature. Homes would recognize their inhabitants, responding to touch, voice, and even emotional state. Technology would no longer feel separate from life. It would simply become another expression of it. Looking at such a civilization from above, an observer might not even recognize it as intelligent. There would be no smoke rising from factories, no glowing highways visible from space, no endless fields of concrete. Instead, the planet would appear almost untouched, covered in forests, rivers, and oceans. Yet hidden beneath that peaceful surface could exist one of the most advanced civilizations in history, quietly woven into every branch, root, and leaf. Ironically, some scientists today believe we are already taking the first tiny steps towards such a future. Researchers are developing living materials that repair themselves, bacteria capable of producing useful chemicals, biological computers made from human cells, and genetically engineered organisms that perform tasks once thought possible only for machines. Our own world may never fully abandon technology, but biology is slowly becoming one of its most powerful partners. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this thought experiment isn't that one path is better than the other. Metal gave us airplanes, satellites, and modern medicine. Biology gave us forests, coral reefs, and every living creature on Earth. Maybe the future doesn't belong to one of these worlds alone. Maybe the most extraordinary civilization is the one that learns to combine both, building technology that works with nature instead of against it. So if humanity had chosen a biogenic path instead of a technological one, our cities would not necessarily be larger, our machines faster, or our lives easier. But our world might have become something far stranger and perhaps far more beautiful. A civilization where every building grows, every street breathes, every forest remembers, and every invention is alive. To us, such a world might seem almost alien, yet for its inhabitants, it would simply be called home. Now imagine standing at the edge of one of those living cities, surrounded by trees that have been growing for thousands of years, watching giant biological airships drift silently across the sky while glowing forests light the night. Would you choose this world over our own? Or do you believe humanity made the right choice by following the path of steel and silicon? If you enjoyed exploring this alternative history, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear which version of civilization you would choose. And if you want to see more cinematic what-if journeys into forgotten possibilities, don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next adventure.